So let me relate back to I have 8 kids. So back when my younger girls were small and growing up through junior high and going into high school, this is when computers were coming around and everyone's getting a computer, putting them in their bedrooms, bringing them out. And I was young in law enforcement and going through all this, and I stopped my girls from using computers. I really held it back. We had a family computer in the living room. Teachers would always give assignments, and I was very invasive on what they were doing on the computer. And I now know many years later, I held my girls back. So they didn't get to adventure on the computers as other kids. They didn't get to see what their capabilities were, which now our whole world is computer based. So I feel like I held my older kids back. Getting to do it again, I have this another round of kids where I've got an 8-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 14-year-old, a 19-year-old. I now let them use those items. They are on social media. I now try to use what I know to teach them how to use it, because you learn as a parent. If you try to keep it from them, they're going to get it. They're going to find it. They're going to have access to it at some point. So I've now embraced, while I'm older and probably a little bit wiser, I've tried to embrace allowing my children to use it, because it's not going anywhere. It's in everything we do. It's in every phone, every tablet. You have you have access to all these things.
But what conversations do you have now with your children who are younger now as you're redoing it? What do you tell them about that there are people on the internet that are actually looking to prey upon you, meaning there are dangerous people out? What do you tell them? How do you police that?
Again, I'm very open from the time my kids started learning body parts, from the time they started talking, walking. We talk about penises, vaginas, just as they are like belly buttons and noses and ears. My kids know what their body parts are. So with social media, I include that into my talks. I let them know that there could be a neighbor next door that wants you to go play a game with them, you know, beating Mr. Doom, and it's going to involve somebody wanting to touch your vagina or somebody wanting to touch your penis. So because it's out there, without scaring them, I've just made it become normal conversation. So
Yeah.
ever since
Well,
they
I
were
tell you,
little,
my rule with my kids when they were little is if you wouldn't do it with me standing in the room, then maybe you shouldn't do it.
You mean
Right? If you're
standing in
talking,
the room with a rifle,
yeah,
Mr.
if
Payota?
I was standing there and you would still do it, then all right, we'll talk. But if hey, Jennifer, let me ask you a question. And Stuart said, you worked in the innocent, that well, we used to be called innocent images for the FBI, but the crimes against children, right?
yes.
And I used to oversee that when I had a field office program, and I used to check in on those folks a lot because that's rough duty, right? I mean, it's hard duty, right?
It's
And
tough.
I used to ask the leadership, like, how often do we provide resources for these people, these agents who work in that corrosive environment of crimes against children, child pornography, those types of things. Can you tell us, like, what were your thoughts on that across your career, as far as, I mean, that rough, again, corrosive environment, when you have to look at officer wellness? How did you maintain for so long? That's a high burnout area.
It is a high burnout, and we're offered services. People openly talk to you about going and talking to someone, even if you don't think you need it, to go talk to someone. And when you're in it and you're good and your mindset is there, you don't even think you need it. But when you realize that you do need it,
Right.
that's when I wanted to get out. So when I was feeling healthy and strong and could do it, I wasn't
Yeah.
even thinking about the mental health side. But it's very it it is a very ugly side of our population. It is an ugly thing to see out there.